I always, I always do this.
Hello and welcome back to the Remembering Tuscola webcast. I'm here with Mike Carroll and Bill Englehart, who just keeps getting better looking every day.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, that's not Bill Englehart. Mike, you want to introduce your guest?
This is my beautiful wife, Rebecca Cook. Uh, is it Rebecca Carroll or Rebecca Cook? Who knows? Who knows? Bill couldn't make it today, so I badgered. What did you guys call me?
Persistent.
Persistent badger. Uh, I bugged her to death, and she agreed to be on just for a little while. She's gonna leave with some friends to go see a play in Sullivan. What's the play tonight?
Uh, Trailer park, I don't know.
Trailer Park. Oh, okay.
I don't know what it is.
Our early life.
Let's go.
Our early life. Yeah.
Jenny is going to play in Champaign tonight.
Well, tonight Becky and I'll be watching TV.
Probably.
So Becky's always wanted to be on this thing. So
I'm
this,
not.
I know she says all the time, "Why won't you let me on?"
yeah. She said, "Let me look at those pictures." I know
Well,
those people.
it's a boys' club.
It's a boys' club. You know.
So, okay, well, we're ready to get to pictures.
Yeah. Let's see if Becky can get them. If the names are on them, it'll help.
Some of them have the names on them.
Oh, gosh.
Oh my gosh. Well, I can.
This is 1969. We'll blow it up a little bit.
Yeah. Let's start over to the. Over to the left. It looks like Daryl Price, Ricky Wellborn, Billy Anderson, Barry Henby. Not sure. Looks like just a second, stop right there. Looks like
The last row.
Looks
Yeah,
like one of the Beatles, doesn't it?
no, but he's Owen. I think it's one of the Owen boys. Don't know who the two next are. Could be.
I thought maybe Paul McCartney, but
They all had Beatle haircuts. Nobody keep on sliding across
the
the
next
top.
two fell asleep during the picture beat.
Yeah. Okay. Keep on going. There's Tommy Harris, to the very right.
Oh,
And keep on. See, Tommy looks like he hasn't changed.
right.
Wow, this is quite a group. There's Rick Reinhardt, used to be our football coach. And that could be a Tingley. I'm not sure. Bottom right, you go right to left.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's Sipe. That Dennis Oaks, third one in. Fourth one's Paul McCollum. From right, I think it's Hausman, Fred Hausman, I think.
Looks like a Hausman.
Like Fred. Keep sliding a little bit. Not sure. Dave Snyder. I don't know. No, that's not Dave. Not sure. Becky, these were freshmen, I think.
They were too young for me.
Freshman, we were senior. No, I think Chaplin's, is that Dennis Chaplin?
Which one?
That Dennis? Last one might be Mark Kleiss. That looks like 68, 69.
December 25th, 1969.
Wow. Okay, next one's Becky's.
No. Everybody.
If their names are on it, oh, you probably know these people.
No, I don't.
Well, who's that? Way back with the cap on the far left, you know that. On the left with the graduation cap is Matt Morey.
Oh, yeah.
The people without graduation on the left looks like Daryl Price. Not sure about the guy. Should know him. You know the girls?
Okay, well,
Slide over a little bit.
that slide it over.
Yeah. You got names on that one?
Well, I'll take the next one though. I think I know the next one.
Okay.
Ask Mrs. Joseph Johnson presenting the B and PW Award to Margaret Joe Christine.
Yeah, I think that was Margaret.
Yeah.
That's Margaret Stillwell.
Mhm.
I don't know who Miss Johnson is.
See, I even knew her married name. And you know, funny enough, Margaret's one that you'd recognize her from a 50-year-old picture anyway.
Yeah.
Looks just the same.
Yeah, her smile's just the same, and so I knew that one because the names were on them, but
Well, that helps.
that
That
helped.
helps a lot in identifying people.
So let's see. I guess Mike gets the next one.
We'll let Becky get, if there's names on, we'll let Becky get it. Now, Becky, do you see anybody there? Right there. Who's the second one in? First one is Holden, I think. Who's the second one?
She looks familiar.
Was married to Doug McCumber.
Oh.
Janet Brody,
Mm-hmm. Is that Missy?
Sandy Helm.
Oh, Sandy Helm, yeah.
I'm not sure about the next one.
This
Yeah,
They're
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
cousin.
Fifth one is Bill Leonard, Steve's older brother. And then go ahead, Becky, the next one.
Mike's cousin.
Give his name.
Forget.
Tim McGuire of the Great McGuire clan. And there's, it looks like Joe Wilhelm. What, do we have names here?
Yeah, that is Sandy Helm.
No, I didn't have the names. You did pretty well.
Yeah.
That means it's Becky's
There's,
turn.
there's way to the left. Go backwards a little bit. That's John Cox. Go to the other left, the other left.
Oh, the other left.
Way up there on the podium, you can barely see him as John Cox. Okay, next one. Looks like Janice. Oh, look. That's Carol Chapman's brother.
Mhm.
Remember Johnny?
Mhm. And next door to him.
This one was Becky's. It's got the names on it.
Becky, who's the girl?
Janice Hinton.
There you go. That's good. It's in art.
No, it's not hard.
You could tell from the flower. Look at the
Yeah.
flower. Do they still buy flowers like this, David? You know?
I'm sure you can. Yeah. I don't know about that one. The one for the guy is looks just like they do today.
Carnation.
Near.
Oh, there we go. There's Janet Brody again. And
Tim
my
McGuire.
cousin,
Tim McGuire.
Tim McGuire, middle linebacker, fullback on the football team. Great guy over in Indianapolis South, Greenwood, Indiana. To the right, far right. You know who this is on the
I
far right?
can't see it very well.
Slide over, David. Slide the picture over.
Les.
There you go.
Les Hall.
Les Hall on the far right. And the gal he's with
Looks familiar.
might be a Stephanie Dumas. I don't know. Does it say names on that one?
No,
Okay, there's Matt Morey up there again. There's Janet Brody and Les Hall. Down below is Patty Jinks.
Oh, no, not Patty.
Sister.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Harriet.
Harriet Jinks.
I know the one sitting in the middle.
There's our good friend, the great. Go ahead, Becky.
Oh,
Daryl Ferris.
that's Daryl?
That's Daryl.
That's my cousin Daryl.
That's a Weber girl.
He's your cousin?
Yeah.
He's my fourth
Everybody's,
cousin.
everybody's Dave's cousin.
Daryl Ferris is a great guy.
Isn't he a
Yeah,
sweetheart?
Very sweet.
Very happy. Daryl deserves every bit of success he's achieved in
does.
life. That's a Weber girl down there, and I can't. Which
Oh, he is. That isn't Weber.
Quentin and Catherine's family live down the street from us on Overton.
That would be Joan Weber.
Is that Joan? Okay. Oh boy. Have a go.
Don't do that.
Well, that's Connie Smith. That's a foster.
Jim,
Kathy Bishop and Kathy Hoke. Dana Bishop's was also, he's Doug McCumber's class, and co-captain of basketball was Doug, great athlete. Dana died unexpectedly early.
Kathy looks just the same.
Kathy
today.
looks the same. Dana was probably one of the sweetest guys in the world.
yeah, and Dana didn't change much
Not at all.
on
No.
either.
Oh, Dana was same old Dana. Those Bishop boys are really a lot of fun when I was young to play with. They're all good kids. There's Tommy Harris and Jimmy Kleiss in the upper left. I know that.
Well, Jimmy Kleiss is on the upper right.
Yeah, is he over there?
Oh, there, yeah, upper left. That must be Wellborn then. Go back again. Is that Ricky Wellborn? Upper left is Tom Harris. Ricky Wellborn. It looks like Byron Ron. I don't know. Down below is second one in is Mark Kleiss. There's an Oaks girl. Oh, look, there's Doc Smith's daughter, Holly, and then there's Greg Skinner's sister. That's Esther.
Yeah, Essie.
Essie.
Can you not see the names at the bottom?
Now they're real small. Let's go back. Let's look at Rick Wellborn again. There's old Mark Kleiss, and there's Mark Kleiss on the second one in, and Ricky Wellborn. Then go down to Jim Kleiss. Now that's close. Would you agree?
What do you mean close?
Well, it's easy for
Oh, yeah.
that I got them mixed up.
That looks like Jim. That looks like Jim.
I thought Ricky Wellborn was Jim. We went to Ricky's funeral after he
Yeah.
lived on Ashmore. We told the story where he slipped on ice. I slipped on ice about the same time, broke a couple ribs, and everybody said, don't worry about it. Ricky's broke his ribs and went to a hospital down there. They said, looks okay. He went home, and for about a week or two, he just kept getting sicker and sicker. Went up to Carl, and they found out his rib was displaced and sawn away on his diaphragm or something, and internal injuries and bleeding, and he passed away. So if you fall and break your ribs, make sure you go get an x-ray. It's serious business. Ricky was part of that great Wellborn family that went to the Baptist church with.
Okay, so I don't think we got named all of them. Seated, we got James Cox, Mark Kleiss, Joyce Oaks, Holly Smith, Esther Skinner, Nancy O'Brien. Standing, Tom Harris, Rick Wellborn, Andy Ron, Marcia Green, Kathy Jolly, and James Kleiss.
If Nigo had been here, he'd have got Kathy Jolly and Green. There you go, Becky. You're somewhere in there.
I'm not in there.
Well, third one in, once again, is Janet Brody. Hate to beat on her. Fifth one in is Carol Schroed's sister, Connie. The next one in is Linda Hausman, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is Connie Schroed. 6 is Linda Hausman. Not sure about 7, 8 is Knitz. Oh, look, they're Debbie Lyons.
Oh, yeah.
Right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is Debbie Lyons. Conlon, Becky played golf with her just the other day. Next one is Jill Ragsdale. Next one, you have to slide over a little bit. Not sure about the next one. Then I think you have an Alexander
at the end.
There you go. And then you have an Alexander right before Summerlot, I think. Do you have names on this one?
No, it's I've got some from the internet.
Okay.
Be Summerlot on the
Yeah.
right. Carol Schropp Pierce says my sister Connie, fifth from the left.
Right.
Mike and Jennifer Thomas says, Aunt Becky, I see you. Dina Man Kidwell says, tag Linda Watkins.
Yeah, Linda's the sixth one in. Linda Hausman.
So these are
We saw Fred Hausman's picture earlier. That was Fred's sister.
a little younger than you. How many of these did you date, Mike?
I dated everyone twice. No, I did.
Oh.
Let me see.
No, you never dated anybody
I
twice.
can say this without giving any names. I did call one of them for a date.
Yeah, the one sitting next to you.
No, no. I did call one of these girls for a date, and I couldn't even get the first date. Normally, I got the first date. I couldn't even get the first date on this one.
Well, you had a reputation by then.
Oh well, it was well deserved. Oh, there's Ricky Hardwick's band, and I guess I know Mark Owen on the right, and I know Ricky's the second one from the left.
You got Rex Stody, Rick Hardwick, Celeste Bear,
Is that
Steve
Celeste
Hayes,
Bear? Yeah, Steve Hayes.
Mark Owen.
Well, Celeste, I didn't know Celeste was in a band. Celeste was the only girl in the Arnhem and Maybear, great family on Ficklin Street there. Bob and Steve and Jeff. Steve was my class. Celeste had to grow up among those three boys, and they were all musical, if I remember right. I know Bob and Jeff, I think, were in bands.
And Steve, isn't that
Celeste lives over in Camargo now, I think.
Steve Hayes? Isn't that Chrissy? Is it Chrissy or Christy Hayes,
Dad?
the singer? Yeah.
I think so. Steve's two sisters, I think his two sisters were Pat.
Oh, his daughter.
No, I know Christy, but I'm talking about his sisters way back in '65 was Pat. And then
Oh, yeah.
a couple years later was who's Pat's sister? Married Mark Weaver. Yeah, their dad was an engineer out at the plant. And I do think you're right. I don't know who, I think Rick is the father of Christy, the country western singer, I believe.
Not Rick, Steve.
Steve Hayes is the father. Yeah, I'm thinking of Rick Hardwick again.
And what's the name of the band?
Well, Becky,
The Sleepwalkers.
boy, you remembered that. How did you do that? See, this isn't hard. Oh no, you ought to know the cheerleaders
No,
here.
I don't. They're young, Mike. They're young.
They were sophomores when you were a senior. That's Linda Hausman, Linda Watkins now, Janet Brody. You have to slide over a little bit. Third one, I'm not sure.
Apparently, Mike paid closer attention to the young cheerleaders than you did.
I was doing
Well,
studies.
Becky was their cheerleader when I played. She did not go unnoticed. I should know that last one down here. And I
I
can't.
know she looks familiar.
Yeah. Any names on this one, David?
Well, let me see if anyone commented on the.
Janet was a great singer. She used to sing at festivals and shows in old-fashioned days. She had a wonderful voice.
The only one that was named as Linda Watkins.
Yeah. Well, there's several out on the right.
Mhm.
Yep, that's the only that one someone else commented on. So that did on this one.
Now,
We might be able to get the names on this one.
yeah. What do you think, Becky?
Marsha Green.
So Becky got one?
But she was in the other one.
Yeah, she was in the other one. Who do you think the second one is? Who ought to win her on this one?
That'd be jolly.
Who's the third one?
Kathy Weber.
Who's the fourth one?
Margaret Patterson.
Becky got them all, David.
Becky, you're amazing. See, you know these people.
She knows them. Becky says, there's nothing to this. I don't know what you and Bill are working so hard at. Yeah, that's wonderful photos. Oh, you can get all these too. Okay, honey. Have a good time at the play.
Sure.
We lost
Hello.
our
I lost my better half.
we lost our stand-in.
Yeah, she has to leave for the play. Well, there's the names at the bottom. Carla Ford, of course, was Miss Tuscola. Kathy McCumber, really sad. Her two brothers, Tom and Doug, passed away. Her mother's 100 years old, just had Catherine was back home last weekend, had a 100-year birthday party that Kathy arranged. And Dick Helm, class of 51, who's now 90 years old, he and his wife, Andrea, drove up from Georgia for the party and came and visited. Becky and I took him out to supper at Take Carbone and visit him. Wonderful people. And that's Bev Swihart. It says Bennerly Swihart. I think it's
Yeah, a
Beverly
little bit of a typo there.
Sandy Mayer. I don't know Rita McCord. And there's Judy. I know Judy Kleiss. Yeah, Judy's wonderful girl. Sister Kathleen married Gary Campbell. They're over in Indianapolis. We're good friends with them. Judy married Todd, lives down the street here from us. She passed away from cancer. Wonderful, beautiful woman, great character.
Well, speaking of Catherine McCumber,
There she is.
there she is.
Yeah, there she is. So there's
You know, she hasn't, you said she's 100 now. She hasn't changed in 50 years either.
100 years old. No, she still looks good. She's still healthy.
I haven't seen her lately, but
Well, it was invitation only. There was an ad in your paper, I think, to send her Christmas cards and stuff. I think they had it at the Smith House, one of the final events at the Smith House. And there's Denise Dietrich. I look at Andy Ron, I think of Myron. We nicknamed him Myron when he was a police officer. And there's, of course, Doc and Mary Smith's daughter, Holly.
wasn't Myron his dad, or is that his first name? Is Andy
Myron was his dad's name.
Yeah.
So he got that nickname. That's why I was nicknamed by a lot of classmates. Homer was my nickname.
Yeah.
Well, there's Janet. Well, we're heavy into this. There's Janet Reynolds again. There's Donna Ritchie, who was a nurse, very good nurse up in Carl for many, many years, married Ray Lamb. They recently sold their house last year across the street. They're down in Florida where Ray plays golf every day. You got time for a couple more?
No.
What time you got to meet everybody?
I gotta go.
Okay. There's Marilyn Wadland. Her brother Malcolm. Wasn't Malcolm in your class?
Oh, yes.
Malcolm Wadland. Wasn't their dad the minister?
Uh-huh.
Which one?
I don't remember which one.
Their dad was a minister.
All these came from a picture page in the journal.
Yeah, these are all 68, 69.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are, yeah. Well, that looks like there's Cheryl Carnine. That's a mannequin, of course. I did get a second date with the mannequin.
That's Brenda Mannequin, isn't it?
Yeah, I got a second date with the mannequin. She couldn't say no. Cheryl was my classmate Doug's sister. And she passed away about 2 years ago. Her husband died probably 5 years ago. She moved back to Illinois and then to Indianapolis. Now, the far right is Kit Kahneman. I did have a date with Kit Kahneman, believe it or not. She was a freshman.
Huh.
One day.
She must
What?
not have heard about you yet.
Well, I think that's why she hadn't heard by the first date. She then heard, and that was it. Kit was a cute little girl, wound up down in, I don't know, she went down South Birmingham or somewhere. Everybody else went down to Florida, Panama City, I think is where her dad and mom relocated. He had a furniture store down there in Panama City. Rick became a developer down there. Rob was down there helping.
Well, that's Bull, Mike.
Oh, that's Joe Bull there, right there.
There's the bull. We saw the bull last week.
Yeah. Well, this is that same class.
Well, yeah, it's all from the same picture page.
Yeah. Yeah, there they
I
are.
didn't
There's,
mix it. I didn't mix it up as much this week. I just
yeah.
got lazy. Took them all from the same page.
Yeah, Dave Welby. There's Matt Morey, who wound up being a professor of economics, I believe, down at Indiana University. Les All, still here in town. There's the Kathy Hoke. Melinda Ringer married Greg Eaton, really sweet girl. John Cox, wonderful guy. He was in sports. I think he was a manager part time. He's just a nice guy. And I can't see the one on the right. Looks like Eddie Nader. Well, you got him again. That's in the back. Looks like Rudy Kalmar. That's uh, Janet Brody. It looks like Jack Holden, Maury, John Cox, and Joe Wilhelm again. John Cox, let me see, who's the, okay, here we go. Next one. You ought to hide
Hide the name.
yeah, I don't know if I know any of these people. Well, there's my, let me see. I do know one person here. One, two, three. Fourth one from the left is my cousin, Mickey McGuire, Mickey Joe McGuire. Mickey Joe Suits lives in St. Joe. She's brother to, we've seen a couple pictures of her brother, Tim. And Tom, another brother, and Rick, who's passed away.
Any others?
No, I don't think I know the others.
Well, you've got in the back Mrs. Mary Isles.
I knew Mrs. Yeah, I didn't. Taught Latin.
I remember her.
Yeah.
And Penny Stinger, Jane Mason, Robert Heath, Lynn Belt, Mickey McGuire, Cindy Magley, Evelyn Wadland, and Kathy Weber. Hide the names from you here. Oops.
Yeah. Hide the names. Rick Holden, Janet Brody, Sandy Helm. Not sure. Bill Leonard, Tim McGuire. Who am I missing there? Slide it over. Joe Wilhelm. Who's the gal in the middle? I know her. I just can't think of her name. Oh, Janet Spence. Well, I'm sorry I missed you, Janet. Janet wound up getting inducted into the Hall of Fame some years ago. Was high up in the executive world, very successful. Came back to town, lives down on Van Allen Street across from her sister, in a home I fixed up when I came back from the Army in 1973, where Tim Ho lives. There's a DAR and SA. That's Kathy Hoke and John Cox.
And presenting is Mrs. William Biggs.
Don't know who's presenting.
Mrs. William Biggs.
Here's Arnon Bear. We talked about the Bear family. Arnon Bear was a lawyer in Tuscola. He and May had 4 kids, had the 3 boys, Steve, Jeff, and Bob, and had Celeste. I spent a lot of my youth down there in the basement. They had a little bumper pool table. May was as sociable and open and welcome as you could be. Arnon Bear might have been one of the nicest guys in the world. He might have been almost too nice to be a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet guy.
Kathy Hoke and John Cox.
Yes, Kathy and John. Looks like is that a Pew? I don't know.
Joanne Pugh.
I don't know who's presenting either.
Judith Anderson.
Well, there's David Leitz. And third one in is Joyce Oakes. Holly Smith, I don't know the other 2.
Sarah Romine and Cindy Thody.
Well, there we go. This is Kathy Wade, married Tim Hole. Kathy Hole Wade. There's Lenita Aldridge and Kid Kahneman again. I don't know who that is presenting. There's my cousin Tim McGuire. Looks like Connie Smith. I don't know. Is that Chuck Nader?
Ed
Ed
Neighbor.
Nader.
And
Took a good picture. Tim isn't that good looking. And if he's listening, Tim, you take a better picture than you really are.
Lenita's name's misspelled.
Well, where is it? Oh, Annetta.
And she worked at the Journal.
What?
She didn't-
Yeah. I'll tell you what about Lenita. Boy, she ran a good museum.
I haven't seen her lately, but
But I tell you what, when she ran the museum,
didn't change much.
I don't care what you say. She put on a show about every 6 months. There was a show down there, whether it was about the schools, German babies, whether it's about athletics in the past, whether it's about war. She put on wonderful exhibits that were fun to go down and watch. I miss them. Well, there's Terry Binion. On the left is we talked about Tom McGuire. It's Tom McCumber who's passed away. There's Gary Neal, the old newspaper guy who worked for both papers in town. And I think he called me one day, maybe this year, and said he was working for a bunch of papers again still. He's still in the newspaper business. I don't know who the girl is.
Cynthia Thody. This was Boys State and Girls State.
Okay.
I went to Boys State.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it's all right.
Well, there's Jimmy Kleiss again, my neighbor. Les Hall. I think that's Bev Swihart. Not sure. Melinda Ringer. Not sure.
Yeah.
Melinda Eaton.
Let me
Studious bunch of people.
see if I got any comments on this one. Since the names aren't there. Well, only comment was Jim Kleiss that you had.
Yeah, I'd like to know who's on the right. This is that looks like an Oaks on the left. Looks like Linda Matheny's brother. Next one's a Matheny. Jim or
Fred.
Fred.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Tim Hole. There's the Gary Lytle, and there's Bob. I think Bob's what I was thinking. Bob.
Yeah.
I think these are brothers of our three-time Olympian Linda Matheny.
Were they athletic as well?
No,
No.
Linda was by far and away the best athlete probably Tuscola has ever seen. Oh, there you go. Bukovic got in a lot of trouble doing this. He's Croatian, and they don't have Indian tribes in Croatia.
Mm.
But there's Les again.
Who did he get in trouble with? The Croatian government?
No, Native Americans. He co-opted their culture. You know that you can do that. Les Hall, that may be a Romine girl. I don't know. Linda Dillon again. Linda Ringer, I mean. It looks like John Cox there on the right. I can't see. Who's that second girl? Do you have a name on that?
Nope. Let me see if I got any help.
Well, Bill was smiling. You might want to frame that one. And Bill was actually smiling on that one. Maybe school was over.
Yeah, he is. Cheerleaders.
Yeah, that looks like on the left, looks like that Judy Kleiss, maybe Janet Stroll. That's a Duensing, Rita, and that's a Runyon, I think. The last one's a Runyon. I'm guessing. Well, there's Jack Holden and John Cox again with Terry Benyon.
You should know some of these.
But yeah, there's Daryl Price again. Laura McConkey. Not sure. Maybe Green. You slide that over a little bit. Not sure about the last two. You have names on this?
Yep.
Oh, that's Susan. Yeah, okay, that's Daryl Price, Laura McConkey, Susan, Marcia Green, Peggy Weber. I think Daryl wound up marrying Peggy. And Kathy Jolly, who's in the back there?
Steve French.
Steve French. Yeah, I think Steve came back home, and I would see him down at Gus's a lot. He'd just be having a Coke or a Sunday at the counter. I think Steve passed away about a year or two ago. Had a sister, Connie, I think was her name.
Freshman cheerleaders.
Okay.
It must have been plaid day at the school.
Yeah. Wow. Got any names on this one?
Well, the only comment is from Mike and Jennifer Thomas, says Aunt Kathy.
Kathy.
No,
Who?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. She was another picture. So we'll have some different ones next week, but oops. There you go. Pom Pom Girls.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Wow. Zero in from the right. We go to the left, yeah.
You on the left or right?
Whatever.
Yeah. All right. See anybody you recognize?
Well, we'll keep on going. We're at the fourth, fifth. Looks like a Georgiana Hillard there, not sure. There's the Alexander with the flip up curls. Yeah, maybe two of them I recognized. You got names on those?
Nope, I don't have any comments on those.
Well, that looks like a Runyon. There were two Runyon girls, I think. I'm not sure which Runyon that is. There's Judy Kleiss, Judy Black. Not sure about the third one. The fourth one looks like Jean Waters, Miss Illinois. And there's Johnny Dobbs, Johnny Huber.
Huh. Well, that's our last one.
Well, I think we got most of them there.
Yeah, you did pretty well.
Well, I tell you what, if you could show me the girls from my era, I could name every one of them.
Yeah.
Because I had one date with every one of them.
Right. Well, we had a little higher class co-star this week, but she bailed on us halfway through.
Well, Ingo couldn't make it. I think he said he'll be here next week. I browbeat Becky. She is loath to be on this, but I said, I need some help on this stuff. I can't read. I don't see well enough to read the names. So I got I said I'll pay for supper tonight if you'll do this. You got
And if she didn't come on, who would pay for supper?
well. She usually pays for it, but I use it as an inducement. So is everything going okay with you and your now retired wife, David?
Yeah, everything is good, and her well, it's out publicly, so I guess it's I should say her daughter Amanda, formerly Andrew, is headed to Spokane, Washington for a job. And so that's keeping us busy, getting ready for that big move. So it's always a little trepidation when your kid moves 2,000 miles away.
So you think you'll fly out and visit if he gets a good job or she gets a good job?
Yeah, I think we'll fly out and visit on occasion. I don't know if we'll be able to do it once a year, but that's
Well, it's a nice place to visit. It's nice out there. If you still have the hearse, you could just fill her up and go. Put some solar cells on the roof and go.
yeah. We thought about driving because we like to drive and make a nice little vacation, but well, in order to enjoy the drive, we'd have to take 7 days to do it because it's a good 3 to 4 day drive
Yeah.
anyway.
David, you could drive up to Galesburg and take that train that
Yeah.
goes across the Rockies. They say it's a wonderful trip, and you can set up on top and enjoy the scenery as you go.
You can sit on top of the train.
Yes, like they did in the old 30s and 40s, the hobos. I mean, they have this. They have these viewing carts.
Or I could do even better. I could be a hobo and get on a freight train. It wouldn't cost me anything.
They're harder to get on, David. They got them secret padlocked up now. They're hard to get on, and they're covered in paint, graffiti. You don't
I have
know where
to avoid the
you don't know where the
bulls.
door. You don't know where the door is.
No, well, you just get between two cars and ride on
Yeah,
the tongue.
yeah, right on the tongue. That won't hurt you as it's banging back and forth. Nothing gets pinched.
I've never hopped a train. Doesn't that sound like fun?
I My grandma lived right down from Jocala. We used to live on West North Central, and our youth was filled with trains. They used to have diesel trains back then that would pull up. I can still remember the diesels. I mean
Steam.
the steam. I still remember steam trains going through as a young boy. But yeah, we would run out sometimes when they were sitting there and just climb up on the ladder. And the minute they went, we jumped because we were scared to death. But I often thought about trying to ride it maybe down to Washington Street, hoping to get going too fast and jump off. No, I train travel was the cat's meow back then. I don't want to. What I don't want to fly anymore. I just think I heard too many flying stories.
I think there are people who still hop trains, but I think it's a little more dangerous than it used to be.
Oh, I think so. I think so.
Occasionally, you hear about serial killers that are
Oh yeah.
getting around by train.
Well, I know I'm not going to fly anymore. I probably would take a train. I know I'm not going to take a submarine anywhere.
You're not going to go see the Titanic?
Can you believe if I were a billionaire, I've never said there's these billionaire thrill seekers that want to go into space. They want to rent Elon Musk's SpaceX and go into space, or they want to go down. If I were a billionaire, I would buy the biggest, nicest house in the world. I would never leave it. I would have food brought in. You know, it's a dangerous world out there. Wouldn't you want to live as long as you could if you were a billionaire? If you're poor, you don't care. You know, go try it. The bungee jump out of a plane.
Well, but if you're poor, you can't afford to do it, to try
Well,
it.
that's true. There's a medium there. But I always thought about that. I just remember growing up with all I had was debt and mortgages and stuff, and I was fearless because, hey, what the world? You know, if I go bankrupt, I get rid of all the debt. Then once you get a couple of dollars, you're scared to death of losing it.
I would probably go on a submarine for the experience, but I think I'd want maybe a military submarine. I think they seem to know what they're doing, despite the fact that each one was built by the low bidder.
Yeah. Well, military procurement's a little different. They have performance specs and stuff. You got to meet their specs. If you're claustrophobic, I'm trying to imagine 5 people. It's the size of back of a minibus, and there's 5 people sitting there. There's no room to move. You have to sit. You can't stand. I'm
They're in a
claustrophobic.
submarine. Where do they go to the bathroom?
Well, they got a little pee hole on the side.
Where's the privacy?
Well, I think you forfeit a lot of that.
That doesn't sound like fun at all.
No, hard to beat sitting in your favorite room with all your trophies smoking a cigar. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, it doesn't get any better than this.
I mean, you do all your work. You do most of your work right there. You know, it's your center of the universe right there.
I spend a lot of time in this chair,
Yes, you do.
and it's a nice chair, and I like it.
Yeah.
I got it at Kelsey's Furniture in Tuscola, Illinois, and it's a great chair.
I sat in a chair. I don't want to advertise, but I was at a mall in Indianapolis, and they had these chairs just to sit in if you're waiting on your spouse or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was called Stressless. They're made in Norway. They're Scandinavian, you know. And I sat in it and leaned back, and I fell asleep inside a busy mall.
Yeah.
And when Becky woke me up and said, I got to have one of these. Well,
Or how do you say that?
narcolepsy.
That'll do that to you too.
That'll do it to you. Yeah. That, a comfortable chair. But if I had that chair and I sat in it, I would just go to sleep.
Huh.
So you got to sit in an uncomfortable chair. If you want to read or write or do something, your chair can't be too comfortable.
I need a comfortable chair because I'm in it a lot. So I'm not gonna. This is not a great sleeping chair, but well, you can sleep in it, and I have. But you just need a chair that fits.
Yeah. Well, lumbar support. As you get older, if you get congestive heart failure, you have to sleep setting up, you know, for circulation. So that chair could work for all kinds of things. You could be there all your life.
It's hard to find a chair that fits me well because I'm short.
You're not that short.
I'm 5'6". But you've sat in this chair before.
I thought it was comfortable.
Yeah.
I liked it.
But you didn't put the footrest out.
No, I was afraid I'd fall asleep.
Yeah.
You know, you get to a certain age and you just fall asleep real easily.
There's only 2 people who've ever sat in this chair.
And they are.
You and me.
Did I sit in there accidentally, or did you tell me?
No, I give up my chair for you when you come over.
Well, I know you give me a wonderful cigar when I come over, and it's, you know, my cardiologist is. I've told you this story a million times, you know, or now your cardiologist says it's okay to smoke cigars, but when I had my stent put in, he said, "Do you smoke?" And I said, "I smoke three cigars a week." He said, "You mean you used to?" I said, "No, I do." He said, "You mean you used to?" I said, "No, I still do." I guess he was telling me I was done, but
That's a million. That's 1,000,001 now that I've heard that story.
well, okay. So I told it twice.
The key,
Your cardiologist says,
well, the key, Mike, is to find a cardiologist who smokes cigars.
okay. So
They think it's okay. No, he's not my cardiologist. He's a cardiologist.
No, not your cardiologist. I know you don't have a cardiologist.
I don't have a cardiologist.
I thought you read somewhere in cardiology or something.
No, I know a cardiologist. He's a friend of mine, and but also my doctor, my general practitioner, both said, and I've told this 1,000,001 times. There's no credible study that shows cigars are dangerous to your health. And in fact, when I went to get my life insurance, I told them I smoked cigars. And they said, well, you'll have to take a blood test. And the blood test came back negative for nicotine. And they rate me as a non-smoker.
You know, when COVID was flourishing, I know Jim Boyles told me that he read a report or heard about actually smoking was good.
Well, there is a study that suggests cigar smokers live longer. Um, they think probably due to the relaxation benefit, but I don't think that was a real scientific study. But George Burns was what, 99, 100,
Yeah.
smoked 10 cigars a day.
What Mark
Mark,
Twain make it to?
Mark Twain was mid 70s, 76, maybe.
For his era, that was good.
Heavy cigar smoker.
Yeah. I don't want to say it for the millionth time, but remember what his golden rule on cigar smoking was, his limit?
One at a time.
Never smoke more than one at a time.
Right.
And I've tried to follow that. Well, Ingo said he'll be back with us next week. That'll be good. Becky will be thrilled that she didn't have to come on anymore. I want to thank Becky's out to play right now. So, and Sullivan, little theater on the square. She said she saw Jersey Boys last week and said it was wonderful. We've seen it over in Springfield, and I thought it was great there. And she said it was even better at little theater on the square, which is hard to believe.
Well, you're gonna have to take her to New York and take her to Broadway.
When I was in the Army, I had to go to a race relations conference. I was designated to go to it in New York, and we were down there 4 days. And I saw two plays. I saw a redo of Brigadoon, and I saw that championship season with Pat Hingle as the old coach. I loved it down there, but it was expensive in 1972. It was.
Oh yeah, Broadway is not cheap.
Oh man, it was $80, $100 for a balcony seat back then. So I imagine it's $200-300 for a seat, or maybe more for a good seat. But yeah, I did get to see some Broadway plays. That was pretty nice.
Yeah.
Well, you'll get to see some theater out you'll get to go to Spokane and see some major theater out there.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else before we sign off?
No, I'm looking forward to Ingo getting back in the saddle.
Since Ingo's not here, we could argue and debate.
We could trash him.
No, we don't want to trash him. We could argue with each other.
Yeah. Well, we could argue. I did have one theme I was thinking about the other day. Trump was interviewed by Brett Baer, and he still claims he won the election in 2020. And Brett Baer said, "You lost." He said, "I won," and and then he said, "How come all these people used to like you trash, like Nikki Haley used to like you? You made her ambassador." He said, "I just made her ambassador so the lieutenant governor would take over the governorship. She was a horrible governor." So my first thought was just how people the truth is just out the window, and they lie with impunity, and it doesn't hurt their character rating. And then I saw Adam Schiff, the Democrat, who I heard on TV repeatedly say that he saw classified documents that proved Trump was in bed with Russia, and it turns out it was false. Now they're censuring him, right?
Right.
So to censoring last night, all the Democrats went down there and hugged him and they cheered. And I'm thinking, is everything tribalism where the truth doesn't matter anymore? As long as you're loyal to your tribe and say the magic catechism, whatever happened to lying? I'd be embarrassed if they caught me would you be embarrassed if you were caught in a big lie?
Well, that's why I tend to have a lot of respect for people who will buck their own party and side with the truth. I think Mitt Romney does that.
Mitt Romney does it on the Republican side, and what's his name from Arizona, who passed away, ran for president?
John McCain.
He bucked him.
John McCain was like that.
On the Democratic side, I think you've got the West Virginia senator bucks him. Kristen Sinema from Arizona bucks him occasionally, but whoever bucks them, they want to run them out of the party.
Yeah, they play, well, it's politics. They play dirty, and
yeah, they play dirty. I don't know if it's ever been dirtier. They say Romney's a rhino. Just a Republican name only. Unless you drink the Kool-Aid, you're a rhino. And I
Yeah,
think the same thing happened. The same thing happened to Kristen Sinema. They're targeting Sinema now to run against her. And I
I
think,
don't know if it's dirty or not. If you go to the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Museum, they were pretty nasty to Lincoln when he was in
oh, they
office.
were, yeah, it was bad. Well, then one guy beat another guy almost to death with a cane in the well of the Senate chambers. Wasn't that during the Civil War era?
Well, I don't know, but there was, back then and earlier they would have duels and
Yeah,
um,
yeah. We lost one of our great ones, Alexander Hamilton. Brilliant man.
was that Burr that was
Burr shot him.
yeah.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I think it's about power, isn't it? It's all about
Yeah.
power.
I was thinking the other day, being a political science person yourself, I'm sure you're familiar with Eugene Debs,
Yes.
who was a socialist.
Mhm.
Originally, he was a Democrat. He didn't become a socialist till after he was in prison.
Mhm.
But he was in jail for sedition because he spoke out against World War One.
Yeah.
And so the idea of jailing your political opponents is not a new concept. I mean, that's basically what he was in jail for. He went to
Yeah.
jail twice. First time was for violating an injunction against a railroad strike, and but he ran for president, I think,
20.
5 times.
Yeah.
And the last time he was in jail while he ran for president,
Yeah.
and got almost 1 million votes, over 900,000 votes.
You have to wonder. I've actually been involved in politics. I think I know the phenomenon. But there are some people announcing for president that you're thinking, Marianne Williamson, what? And the mayor of Miami,
Right.
what? Uh, and you say, what are they thinking of? Well, I know because I ran for state attorney, I ran for judge, and what happens is the people you hang around with are all singing sweet praises into your ear that you got it in the bag, and you're only hearing from your inside coterie of supporters, and so if you don't have the ability to extrapolate that that's just inside and you don't know what's out there, you know.
So
And
let's
when I ran for judge, I had a couple of my friends say, well, you're going to walk away with this. I said, no, I'm not. I said, Rick Roach is a wonderful guy. He's a popular guy. He's
yeah.
newer state's attorney than I am. He's a great political skills. I said, it's going to be tough.
So I think Trump will win the nomination, even if he's, you know, I don't think they'll convict him before then. If he's convicted, is he eligible to run for president?
Well, I don't know.
I mean, Eugene Debs was convicted and he was running for president.
I don't know. I know they pushed his trial date to August, which is a very, very, very fast day. They never in the history of prosecution has the prosecutor pushed for a speedy trial. It's always the defense pushing for a speedy trial, hoping the prosecutor won't be ready. In this case, the prosecutor pushed for it, and the judge accommodated him, set it for August. I don't think he'll ever be heard in August. They'll have so many motions outstanding. They'll have appeals. I don't think the thing will be heard before he runs for president. The big question is, can he pardon himself? And the answer seems to be, can pardon himself for federal crimes, but not state. So if they convict him in Georgia of a state crime, they convict him in New York of a state crime. The interesting thing is they could put him in jail. And I don't know. It gets really murky. We're in uncharted territories with Donald Trump.
Yeah, I think, back to Eugene Debs, I believe he stated at the time, and we're talking, what, 1920s, and earlier, that he would pardon himself if elected.
Well, I think for federal crimes, you probably have that power. It doesn't say you can pardon anybody except yourself. So it's never been before a court, so nobody knows. But I know a couple legal scholars have opined that he can pardon himself. And
So if he gets the nomination, can Biden beat him up for a second term or not?
Well, I would say the two big things. I think Biden would beat him again, except for two things. I think Trump supporters are locked and loaded. The ever Trumpers. And then you've got these independents. And what happened to Trump between his first election and his second election was they talked about the suburban housewife. the college-educated suburban housewife, and so-called heart of the independency went against him. They saw Biden as more moderating and with less baggage.
Right.
But then, of course, Biden tacked to the left. I think his progressive group got a hold of him. I think what's going to hurt Trump if Trump gets a nomination and is not in jail or doesn't have any prohibitions against being president, Biden's age, if Biden goes downhill by the time of the election, it shows real cognitive decline. And this is what I think is scary. Most people do not see his vice president as having the chops, the ability to be a president. I think Biden could rescue that by getting a real solid dump on her and getting a proven vice president, and there'd be less anxiety.
Right.
If Biden were elected. The other thing is the Democrats just need to have somebody in the wings to move quickly. And I don't think Bobby Kennedy is the guy. I think Bobby's got way too much baggage. He's a conspiracy theorist, thinks all vaccine causes autism. His own family has gotten furious at him. Bobby's he says stuff that seems really moderate, but if you really look at some of his past stuff, it's pretty fringy. So they need to get a pretty solid candidate up there. I don't think it's the governor of New York. I think they need to get a more moderate Democratic senator or Democratic governor.
Yeah,
and I think they'd beat Trump.
I would have to agree with you that I think that, and I've never been a big Biden fan, but I'm certainly not a Trump fan. So there are a lot of people that would look at Biden Trump race and say, well, Biden's too old and I'm not sure he can make another 4 years, but I can't vote for Trump. So I'm going to take the lesser of two evils here. And,
well, that's what they did. That's what they've done the last two times.
I've thought for a long time, boy, Biden should step down or make
Gracefully.
somebody else, and you need the right candidate.
Well, they claim the problem is the Democratic Party has a shallow bench. They have not groomed successors. The Republicans seem to be full of people that.
Right, but I don't think any of the Republican challengers can beat Trump in the primary.
Well, the theory, we don't know what's going to unfold. The theory is that if they can get New Jersey Governor
Chris Christie
on the stage, they think he can out-Trump Trump. He'll take Trump on bloody. Everybody's afraid to take a swing at Trump directly because they don't want to lose. They know his base is solid, and if they get the primary and they do it by attacking Trump, they're going to lose his base. They're going to lose the election. His base will not. They'll sit on their hands and not vote. The hard Trumpers, or they'll go for some independent. The big theory is, and this is where I think the Democrats look bad. The big movement in America is for moderate, for the
right.
independent. There's actually a group trying to get on all 50 ballots. But the Democratic Party sees that as a threat to their reelection. So they're fighting like crazy they're challenging all the, you have to have so many names on the petition to get on the ballot in states. They're challenging all the petitions. So, if you're real pro-democratic, you should let that play out. But
I do think that the crowded Republican, the number of people running works in Trump's favor because
sure it does.
Just splits up the vote for the also rans.
And they used to say Trump's base was 32%. Well, it looks like among Republicans it's 55 or 60 now.
Yeah.
And the only hope is if those that got in early, if they don't do well in the first primary or second, they get out quickly and get behind somebody else. In other words, if everybody unifies behind a likely successor. And some people think that Scott and these people they're basically campaigning to be vice president. So there's a lot about who's going to be vice. Who will Trump pick as his running mate?
Right.
Some thinks he'll pick the gal from Arizona that lost as governor, it's almost like Trump will have a litmus test that you have to proclaim that I won the last election to be my running mate. And she did. And it cost her the governorship. In fact, almost everybody that ran on the theme of election theft lost. So it's not a popular, the American people have moved on. It's over. Whatever happened, it's over. Let's quit talking about 2020. Most Americans feel that way.
Well, I think, there's a lot of things I don't like about Pence, but I would be much more comfortable with Pence in office than I would with Trump.
He's a solid guy. He's just boring. It's like watching paint dry. Somebody says like watching paint dry to hear Mike talk. He's very slow. He's a great guy.
I would not be comfortable with DeSantis.
Well, and then you think about these people handling the world, nuclear war, China, Russia. Who has the chops for that? I think Mike Pence has the chops for that. I think Scott, who's in the Senate, might have the chops for that. You think of the candidates who might have, Rubio would have the chops for that. I'm not sure about DeSantis on a world stage. So yeah, I think Republicans have some. I think Christie has the ability to be a world leader. I think he's tough enough and smart enough. But I like Christie. When I hear him talk, I like him, and I don't know. I think a lot of Republicans are mad at him.
I don't dislike him, so I would be more comfortable with him than Trump.
Well, he got in trouble with Republicans because when they had that hurricane in New Jersey and Obama came, he actually walked with Obama and praised him for his help. And they said, "Well, you Judas goat. Well, what's wrong with? He's your president. You had a disaster. He's willing to help you. I'm not going to kick him in the teeth. I didn't see anything wrong with that."
Right.
And so a lot of Republicans said he didn't eat red enough meat. He wasn't. He wouldn't. So I'm actually in a very minority. I'm actually a moderate to liberal Republican. And there's maybe, I liked Ryan up in Wisconsin. They ran him off. The moderates who actually try and look for the truth, fight for compromise, admit what's good, what's bad, and call it the way they see it, just don't last long in politics today. It's so tribal. It's the knives are out.
Yeah.
There's not much room for moderates like you and I.
Right. Well, we didn't yell at each other or
no.
Didn't disagree too much.
And we didn't run Ingo off.
No.
He didn't like this political stuff. I can talk politics all day long with somebody that doesn't get mad. And somebody will probably get mad. Somebody will get mad.
To be clear, Bill doesn't get mad. He just doesn't care for
it. No, Bill just doesn't like it. And Bill doesn't like conflict, I don't think.
Right.
And he sees you and I sparring, and I don't think he likes that.
Well, and for some people, to see you and I sparring, it's like, oh, they're going at it. Well, but you and I enjoy that.
Yeah, that may say something horrible about you and I. But we like this. But
I realize that I'm not the smartest guy in the room, and almost never am. But still, I can ask questions and poke you.
You've got good political chops. You know how the game works. You know what's going on. It's pretty hard to hoodwink you. You can smell stuff. There used to be a saying, in law, we used to talk about how do you prove intent? If somebody said, "Oh, I didn't mean to do that."
Right.
The joke in law school was, even a dog knows whether you tripped over it or kicked it.
Yeah.
And so you just have these native instincts. You have good political instincts. And I know you're a Democrat, I'm a Republican, but
I'm not a member of any party.
But you would tend to lean toward Democratic philosophy.
I've never voted straight ticket.
Yeah.
I voted Republican before in presidential elections. I am more liberal and I do lean left, but I'm not tied to the party.
No, I know that. Your dad was a coal miner. That's a natural alliance with the party. When I see you as the old-fashioned Democrat. You know, the Southern Democrat. I see you as
Blue
almost
dog,
the John Kennedy Democrat,
the blue dog.
the blue dog, and John Kennedy and stuff like that. I see that, and you know, and there was who was Illinois had some really good. Who was Paul Douglas was a Democratic senator, wonderful guy, professor at University of Chicago. I liked him. There were a lot of
Paul Simon.
Paul Simon, Mo Udall. They had a bunch of great Democratic senators who were Muskie. They were Democrats, but they were fair-minded. You know, they could reach across the aisle where it was good for the nation. And I think there used to be Republicans like that too. But let's face it, the two parties right now, especially in Congress, are controlled by the fringe radical wings have control of them. They have veto power. Poor McCarthy is subject to the veto power of the Freedom Caucus. You know, these are, you know, and the Democrats are held hostage to the super progressive wing. So that's kind of who's running that's who, and they don't have majorities, but they have veto power over legislation. When it's split 50-50, your radical wings can default on you.
Yeah.
So it's to me, I'm sure our nation has been in this spot before. I don't know if it's been this exact kind of spot before with all the dynamics, but I'll tell you what, it's tough times and it requires some really smart, moderate, good people to figure it all out. And I hope the cream rises to the top here over time.
Yeah, it's just I think if Trump became president again, I think it would be worse than before.
Well, I think most people don't want to see a repeat of Trump versus Biden.
And so many things that went on in the Trump administration that if Biden did some of those things, oh my God, you know, if Biden put his whole family on the payroll, you know.
Yeah. Well, forget the personal stuff. I think a lot of the people who voted for Trump, I understand it's policy driven. You know,
Well, you say that, and I think, and I disagree. I don't think that most of it is policy driven for people.
no,
I
no,
think, I
but
think
there are
it is
people.
issue. I
No,
think
you're right. There's always Trumpers, and there are never Trumpers. Then there are people in the middle who look at policy and say, I take the personal out of it. I take the personal attacks, the ends, all the.
Right.
I don't try and look whether he's got a good heart or a bad heart. I don't try and look whether Biden's got a good brain or a bad brain. I just look at the policies they espouse. Are they good for America, good for me, good for what I think is right? And, you know, Trump shocked a lot of people when he about ready to disband NATO and told them they weren't paying their fair share. And he went after China. A lot of these things turned out NATO woke up and started giving more money. They said, hey, we got to get going, you know. So he had some good instincts. He did some right things. He went after political correctness, which a lot of people are sick of political correctness, and he just took it head on. So there were things he did in terms of the culture wars and economic policies. America exploded under his economically. He knows business, and he tried to deregulate. He did a lot of things that increased oil production. We were oil independent. Energy prices were down. Corporations were coming back. If you take the personality and man out of the equation, a lot of things were heading in good directions.
And I disagree on some of the policy stuff.
Well, he didn't.
I don't think that he does know business. I think he's a horrible business person. And under Obama, the U.S. became a net exporter of oil. So energy independence and when it comes to things like climate change, as a lot of people think is a farce. I think it's because they don't understand it, they don't study it. They go outside and say, "Oh, it's chilly out today. Where's all this global warming?" Well, it's chilly out today because of global warming, because of climate change, and you have to understand the difference between weather and climate. So I don't know, and gave a lot of tax breaks to wealthy and business, and I think there needs to be more balance where I don't think it has necessarily led to great growth. Trickle down economics does not work. That's been proven over and over, but yet we keep trying it.
Well, there's always been a tension between totally laissez-faire free markets where just let the chips fall where they may, let the invisible hand economics lead you. Adam Smith, they believe that's you get overall best economic outcomes. If you look at the world, the wealthiest parts of the world have embraced capitalism. On the other hand, you look at communism or socialism where they say no, the best policy is a state-driven thing where you make sure there's equal access to money, equal opportunity, and there's more equal outcomes besides equal opportunity. And you see this, and both of them are extreme positions. You see revolutions over this tension. Some people have mediated it, like in Sweden or in Europe. A lot of them have social democracies. Sweden has a huge social welfare net where everybody's medical education is paid for, and yet they fund it through capitalism, through high taxes on their rent.
And to me, wanting businesses and wealthy people to pay more in taxes is not anti-capitalism. And the way I explain it is what we have seen in the past. If given the choice between, if you're a CEO and given the choice between putting money into your company or putting the money into your pocket, they will put it in their pocket. If the choice is between putting money into your company or putting money into taxes, they will put it into their company. So sometimes taxing is actually an incentive to grow your business through those tax deductions by putting more money into the business, hiring more people, and improving production and that sort of thing.
I just use Sweden as an example because Bernie Sanders used Sweden as his anti-capitalism argument that a socialist economy is the best. And the truth is, Sweden is a capitalist economy. They have a huge they have a huge social security net for all the citizens, which is very humane. But they can only fund it, they admit, because they allow capitalism to flourish and they heavily tax corporations. So I don't think tax is anti-capitalist or not. I'm just saying you can. In fact, China's explosive growth in the last 10, 15 years has slowed down now, was because they actually opened up their industries to capitalism. In other words, rather than them regulate and allocate the source of capital, they actually let people compete freely. Now, Xi has cracked down on capitalism in the last 2 years because of a sense of insecurity, and his number one goal is security. And the Chinese economy is slowing dramatically. So the state control allocation of assets is a very inefficient way to.
I believe in capitalism, but I don't think that means you don't regulate, you don't ignore the environment, you don't ignore the needs of workers. You can have capitalism and still have responsibility.
Sure, nobody debates that.
So
yeah, nobody debates that. That's just no. Well, anyway, Engelhart would have long gone to bathroom by now.
yeah, we would. So okay.
Well, nice talking to you, David. We probably should.
Same here.
We probably should have done this in private, like we always do.
Oh no, this is fun. So
okay, David. Nice talking to you.
We'll see you next week.
See you.